Hi guys, this is Jamil. Hi, welcome to the Soft Skills channel. And today we will talk about the top 3 soft skills you need to perform almost any job. So let's get started. The first skill, which is critical for almost any job, in fact, this is a basic life skill you need to have, is self-awareness. The famous author and social media influencer Gary Vaynerchuk has mentioned the importance of self-awareness in a lot of his different videos and talks and so on and so forth. And I totally agree with him because over my 16 years of corporate career, I have seen the importance and in fact experienced the importance of this self-awareness, whether I was an entry-level associate in my organization or a middle-level employee or a senior leader. Now, what is self-awareness? In simple terms, it's your knowledge about yourself. Do you even know yourself, who you are, right? And a lot of people might watch this video and say that, I know who I am, I know my skills, but the best way for you to check that is pick up 3 people in your life, 3 people whom you think know you very well. They could be your close friends, they could be, members of your family and so on and so forth. But those 3 people, you need to have a feeling that, I think this person knows me. And I'm sure there are people in our lives who we can, trust with that kind of a feeling. Now, once you have identified who those 3 people are, just reach out to them and ask them to list down your 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses. And it'll be amazing as you will do this with 3 or 4 people, you will start seeing a trend. Now you will decide to either double down on your strengths because they might be important for your job or for whatever you're doing in your life, or you might decide to work on your weaknesses, or you might just say, I don't give a shit about these weaknesses because these are not important for me. I'm going to double down on my strengths and I'm just going to focus on those, and that's absolutely fine as well. But making that choice is an important part of your success journey. Now, the second most critical skill for any job is your ability to problem solve. Now, Steve Jobs once famously said that it doesn't make sense that we hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so that they can tell us what to do. Now, what this simple saying from Jobs is telling us that companies are hiring you so that you can be put into certain situations and then you come out with the right resolutions to those problems. Now, those problems could be daily operational kind of issues that you need to solve for, or those could be strategic problems. It really depends on the nature of your role, the nature of your industry, and so on and so forth. But the basic ability to problem solve is what's really at stake here. Now, I've made a separate video where we'll go into the details of the problem solving process and each step which is involved there. But just to summarize here, the problem solving process is typically a 4-step process. First step is defining the problem, which is the most critical step. A lot of people say that if you have identified and defined the problem accurately, then you have solved half of the problem, which is absolutely right, because if you are unable to find the root cause, or if you are unable to really define the problem accurately, then it's highly unlikely that you will get to the right solution. Second step then is generating ideas to solve the problem. The third step is evaluating the ideas, because sometimes you might come up with great ideas, but the difficulty to implement those ideas might be really very hard, right? So you need to assess can I implement, low-hanging fruits? Can I implement, do I really have to go for a difficult solution? So that evaluation process is really the step number 3. And then the final step is that, you just don't keep on analyzing, because you don't have to, get into that analysis paralysis kind of a situation. So eventually you need to pick up one solution and then test it out, learn from it. And most importantly, this whole problem solving process is an iterative or a cyclical process, right? Because you'll try to do it once, you'll get learnings from it, and then you'll go to the next stage. So that's the second most critical skill for any job that you perform. Now, the third and the final skill, which is critical for almost any job, is communication skills, or your ability to communicate. Now, communication skills can be broken down into 4 parts. The first one is oral communication. So how do you talk? Are you using the right words? How you are kind of, addressing your audience is the first part. So your oral style of communication becomes important there. The second part is your written communication. In a lot of companies, written communication is key to your success, because a lot of times when you are communicating, you are either writing emails or in a lot of cases when you are submitting projects, those projects are submitted on like one-pager documents or like, simple kind of, couple of pages of write-ups where you define like, what kind of project it is and so on and so forth. So the ability to effectively communicate through the written mode is also very, very important. The third bucket of communication skills would be nonverbal communication. So how do you kind of present yourself, right? What's the body language you're using? And nonverbal communication skills, believe it or not, in today's time and age when a lot of meetings happen over Skype, this is probably a very hard skill to master, because when you are communicating in real time, it's easy to understand, like, okay, you can see your audience and you can easily make a guess that, okay, maybe this person is not understanding what I'm trying to say. And, then you can change your tone, or, you can simplify your message and so on and so forth. But when you are communicating online through a Zoom call or through a Skype call, it's very difficult because those non-verbal cues from the participants, are not coming through, right? Because not everybody chooses to open their camera. Even if they are opening their camera, as you are talking, or sometimes when you're presenting, you don't have your attention on all those different small, boxes where you can see people's faces, right? So I think the non-verbal communication is very, very important as well, whether you are, in person, and more so in the online space or in the virtual space. And then lastly, I would say the most critical part of communication skills is listening. Because remember, communication is not a one-directional process. It's a two-way process, right? So you are, sharing some ideas, you're sharing some thoughts, but it's equally important that you understand what the other person is saying, and your ability to listen patiently and digest what the other person is saying is extremely important. And although listening is a skill on its own, which we'll talk about in a separate video, but I think it's an important part of the communication process itself. So those are the 4 cornerstones of communication skills. And once again, I've made a separate video where we can go into the details of each of those areas, and we kind of dissect that even further. So I hope you liked this video, guys, and if you did, please go ahead and subscribe to the Soft Skills channel, where my mission is to give you the tips for real life skills that they don't teach you at school. Thanks for watching.